Neighbor, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your tiny garden and thought, there's just no way I can grow enough food in this small space? I've felt that too. That frustration of running out of room before the season even begins. A little yard, a corner behind the house, maybe a few pots on a patio. No matter how carefully you plan, it always seems too cramped. But here's the truth. Most gardeners never learn. Your space isn't the problem. The layout is. A few years ago, I discovered a gardening method that completely changed how I grow food at home. No fancy tools, no expensive fertilizers, just a smarter way of arranging plants so you get more harvest from the exact same space, while doing less work, especially if your back or knees aren't what they used to be. And today, I want to show you how to use that method in your own garden. All right then, let's begin. There's a simple method I wish someone had shown me sooner. Square-foot gardening. It's designed for small gardens, older gardeners, and anyone who wants easier planting without bending or guessing. The idea is straightforward. Divide your bed into 1-foot squares and assign each square a purpose. Just one square at a time. Suddenly, spacing becomes simple. Instead of worrying whether lettuce is too close or tomatoes are too far apart, each square tells you exactly what fits inside it. 4 lettuces, 9 onions, 16 radishes, or 1 tomato growing upward. Vegetables also grow better in this organized layout. Their leaves naturally shade the soil, push back weeds, and keep the ground moist, meaning less watering, fewer weeds, and healthier plants. It turns your garden into tiny rooms working together, and everything feels cleaner, calmer, and more productive. You know, one thing I hear from a lot of gardeners, especially those working with tiny backyards, patios, or little raised beds, is this: I just don't have enough space. But here's the truth most people never realize. You don't actually need more land. You just need a smarter layout. And that's where the square-foot gardening method quietly becomes a game changer. Instead of treating your garden as one big open space, this method breaks it into small, easy-to-manage 1-foot squares. And suddenly, planning becomes simple. No more guessing how far apart plants should be, no more wasted room, and no more oversized gaps where nothing is growing. Every single square gets used with intention. But the real magic happens when you combine this system with dense, diverse planting. 1 square can hold 16 carrots, or 9 beets, or 4 lettuces, or 1 tomato trained vertically. Multiply that across an entire bed, and your garden becomes a mosaic of different textures, heights, and colors, each plant supporting the next, shading the soil, and making it harder for weeds to compete. And because every square is planted purposefully, your small garden suddenly behaves like a much bigger one. A 4x4 bed starts producing like a 6x6. A balcony garden feels like a backyard. A single raised bed becomes a little food factory. Let me show you something that surprises most gardeners. If there's one trick that completely transforms a small garden, it's this: growing upward instead of outward. Most people don't realize how much space they lose on plants that naturally sprawl. Cucumbers, tomatoes, beans, squash. Left to wander on the ground, they can swallow an entire bed. But the moment you guide them upward, everything changes. Vertical growing is like unlocking a hidden second floor in your garden. With a simple trellis, string line, cattle panel, or DIY bamboo frame, you give climbing plants a path upward while freeing up the soil below for more crops. Suddenly, that tomato plant that once needed a 4x4 area now fits neatly into a single square foot. The cucumber vine that spread across your walkway becomes a green waterfall climbing gracefully along a trellis. When vines grow upright, they receive better sunlight, enjoy stronger airflow, and resist disease more naturally. Fruits mature clean and straight, untouched by soil or pests. And harvesting becomes almost effortless. No bending, no digging through tangled vines, no guessing where the ripe fruit is hiding. The best crops for vertical growing include pole beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, peas, small melons with net support. Combine vertical growing with square-foot spacing, and suddenly your small garden feels organized, efficient, and twice as productive. Let me share a simple trick that changed how much food I could grow, even in a tiny garden. It's called succession planting, and once you see how it works, you'll never let a garden bed sit empty again. The idea is straightforward. When one plant is harvested, another plant immediately takes its place. No wasted soil, no downtime. Your garden becomes a steady, continuous cycle of growth. Take radishes, for example. You can harvest 16 radishes from a single square foot in just a few weeks. And instead of leaving that space empty, you can drop in a young pepper seedling you prepared earlier. Loosen the soil, mix in a little fertilizer, tuck the plant in, and that square foot is back to work in under 2 minutes. The secret is simply being prepared. Keep a small tray of seedlings ready at all times. Leafy greens, herbs, flowers, anything you enjoy growing. So whenever you harvest something, your next plant is already waiting, just like someone stepping forward in line. With this little bit of planning, each square foot can produce 2 or even 3 harvests in a single season. A small 6-foot garden bed suddenly performs like a 12 or 18-foot plot, without needing an inch of extra space. Once you've mastered keeping your garden beds constantly moving, it's time to unlock a second power move. Interplanting, growing 2 crops in the same square foot at the same time without competition. When done right, it feels like doubling your harvest without expanding your garden. Here's how it works. Different plants grow at different speeds and heights. Some stay low and finish early. Others grow tall and take their time. When you pair these 2 types together, they naturally share the space without fighting each other. Think about a pepper plant. It won't start producing for almost 2 months. That means the soil around it is just sitting there, open, unused, waiting. But if you tuck a few quick crops, like radishes, baby lettuce, or spinach, around the base, they'll be ready to harvest long before the pepper even realizes they were there. By the time your slow growers wake up and start expanding, the fast growers are already on your kitchen counter. It also works beautifully for long-season crops like tomatoes or cucumbers. You plant them in the center, then fill the corners with something quick. You get food early, and you don't lose an inch of growing space. Sometimes, the most powerful gardening trick is also the simplest. Spreading out your plantings instead of putting everything into the soil on the same day. It's called staggered planting, and it's the secret that keeps your garden productive for months without overwhelming you all at once. Here's what usually happens. Gardeners plant an entire bed of carrots or lettuce in a single afternoon. And for a while, everything looks great, until harvest day arrives. Suddenly, you have more vegetables than you can eat, store, or even give away. Then, just a few weeks later, the garden feels empty again. Staggered planting fixes that rhythm completely. Instead of sowing all your carrots at once, you plant 1 row today, then another row a week later, and another row after that. Each batch matures on its own schedule, giving you a steady flow of fresh harvests instead of a giant pile that goes bad in the fridge. This method works beautifully with fast growers like lettuce, spinach, green onions, radishes, and even herbs. Every 10 to 14 days, You simply add another small patch. It takes only a minute, but it transforms how long your garden stays productive. There's another simple trick that makes a small garden feel much bigger, and it starts with planting closer than you think. When your plants grow side by side, their leaves eventually touch and form a natural canopy over the soil. That shade blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds, which means far fewer weeds and far less work for you. And for anyone with a small garden or limited time, that's a huge advantage. Dense planting also creates a microenvironment that holds moisture better. The soil dries out more slowly because the sun can't hit it directly. And when you pair this with a thin layer of mulch, straw, dried leaves, or shredded bark, the effect becomes even stronger. Mulch keeps your soil cool during hot days, warm during cool nights, and consistently moist throughout the week. It's like giving your garden a quiet little shield that works all by itself. What I love most is how peaceful this method feels. Instead of constantly pulling weeds or worrying about watering, you can just walk out, lift a few leaves, and harvest what you need. A dense, mulched garden doesn't just save space. It saves time, energy, and frustration. One thing I always tell my neighbors is this: you don't need a garage full of tools to grow a productive garden. In fact, when you garden in square feet, your tool list gets surprisingly short. A small hand trowel, a pair of pruning shears, and a watering can will carry you through most of the season. And because you're working in small sections instead of long rows, every task feels easier, lighter, and faster. What truly makes this method shine is how simple the layout is. Instead of guessing where plants should go, you divide the bed into clear 1-foot squares, either with string, wooden slats, or even marks in the soil. This tiny bit of structure gives you big confidence because you always know exactly how many plants fit in each space. 4 lettuces, 9 onions, 1 tomato. No confusion, no overcrowding. And here's something many gardeners overlook: layout affects sunlight. Place your tallest plants, tomatoes, beans, cucumbers, along the north side of the bed. Shorter plants like lettuce and herbs stay on the south side. That way, as the sun moves lower in the sky throughout the season, the tall plants won't block the light from everything else. When your garden is organized, small, and manageable, you naturally spend more time enjoying it rather than fixing problems. And the more you enjoy your garden, the better it grows. And have you ever noticed that some vegetables just seem to do better when they're planted next to certain others? It's not luck. It's something gardeners have quietly relied on for generations. Some plants simply grow stronger, stay healthier, and produce more when they share the same square foot with the right partner. And in a small garden, choosing these combinations can double what you harvest without adding an inch of space. Take tomatoes and basil. When they grow close together, basil's scent helps keep pests away, and both plants stay fresher and healthier. Lettuce and carrots are another great match. Lettuce keeps the soil cool and shaded, while carrots grow downward without competing for room. Peppers also benefit from having scallions around because the strong smell keeps many common insects from bothering them. Cucumbers respond beautifully when dill is nearby. As dill blooms, it attracts helpful insects that naturally protect the vines. Radishes and beans work surprisingly well together too. Radishes loosen the soil, and beans return nitrogen that helps everything grow faster. And if you want a combination that performs reliably, try spinach growing around strawberry plants. The spinach covers the soil early, and the strawberries settle in comfortably above it. And of course, marigold can be planted almost anywhere. Its natural scent keeps pests in check and adds an extra layer of protection to the whole bed. As we wrap up today's video, I hope you're walking away with a fresh sense of what's possible in a small garden. When you break things down into simple square feet and keep your beds active, even the tiniest space can feel surprisingly productive. Everything we talked about today is something you can try without stress. No complicated tools, no big budget, no special setup. Just a few thoughtful choices, planted in the right way, and your garden will start giving back sooner than you expect. If one idea from this video caught your attention, give it a try this week. Even a single square foot can be the start of something bigger. Thanks for spending time with me today. Take care, enjoy your growing season, and I'll see you in the next video, neighbor.